and Emma Twigg have plenty of form that we're going to hear all about as we take a look at the crews.
In lane 1, the individual neutral athlete, Tatiana Klimovic. In lane 2, from Australia, world bronze medalist from last year, Tara Rigney. In lane 3, the world champion for the last 2 years, unbeaten for the last 2 years, Caroline Florijn from the Netherlands. And of course, Olympic champion from Tokyo, Emma Twigg from New Zealand. In lane 5, from Lithuania, she's been having a great regatta so far, Victoria Senkute. And in lane 6, from Germany, Alexandra Förster.
And I can't help noticing there's just a little breeze on the water now when you look across the boats. And in a single scull, it's probably enough that you notice it. It's not enough that it's going to put you off. It's not quite the glassy conditions. Just a gentle head breeze, that looks like.
And Greg, you've raced single scull internationally. Can you tell us a little bit about the comparison between being a single sculler and the mindset as compared to the bigger boats?
The wonderful thing here is that these athletes will be in their own head. They make their own choices and they have a race plan, and the race plan really is something that you've got flexibility with, you've got adaptability with. So we will see Caroline Florijn going off the start here. And what I love is just the way she turns up. She just is herself. She's just consistent. She sculls so well. And I think she's kind of almost got that flexibility to do what she needs to when she needs to do it. And that's one of those magical things that I think you get in a single, different to a crew boat.
And in the previous race in the men's single scull, we spoke a bit about the intimacy of that racing situation and relationship between the single scullers, because probably more than any other boat where there can be a lot of changes, these athletes are quite consistent year on year. For example, the three in the middle of the course, Rigney from Australia, Florijn from the Netherlands and Twigg from New Zealand, they've been on the podium the last 2 years at the World Championships. So how do you come back and have something fresh or have something different and turn around a result year on year?
Yeah, I think it's what we saw in the men's single scull race, which is that you use some different tactics, you work on some things, and I'm sure Emma Twigg will have been doing that. Silver medalist, as you say, last year, behind Florijn, Tara Rigney, bronze medalists. But this is the first time we've seen them in the same race, on the same water here in 2024, only 8 weeks before the Olympic Games. So taking a look now at Emma Twigg, you know, she's sculling very efficiently. We know what a wily competitor she is. We're having a look. It's actually Tara Rigney over there who is pretty much bow ball to bow ball with Caroline Florijn.
This is so cool. Tara Rigney is such an amazing athlete, only 71 kilos. She came from netball. She came to rowing because she wasn't able to continue playing. She suffered a knee injury, which and did rowing as part of a rehab. And she did row at school, but now she's, of course, our international single sculler, but, you know, really unassuming Sydney University Boat Club woman. And here she is serving it up to the world champion as they're in the second 500, and they are, as you say, bow ball to bow ball. Emma Twigg just sitting about a length down, but I would never write her off. It is these three that are going to be fighting for the medals, but who will take what colour is the question.
Well, Emma Twigg, I mean, she's still going at it. So good to see her still competing at this level. But Tara Rigney is the one who's on the up. She's the one with youth on her side, and she's the one who's taking it now to Caroline Florijn. We've seen her so dominant throughout the season here in Europe, controlling races the way she did last year. When we look here at Tara Rigney, she's really leaving those arms out a long time. She gets those blades in. Her seat just kind of moves at a good time to the rest of the way she opens her body up. I actually prefer the way Caroline Florijn sculls, though. The Caroline Florijn is almost slow with her legs, that she gets the blades in, the blades are locked, and then she goes. And I really love the way she just then goes and presses the boat, shunts the boat along. She's so connected and her back opens up. That's what I like about Florijn. but I'm not sure if it'll be enough to beat Tara Rigney today.
Well, Tara Rigney's down on 34 strokes per minute. The Dutch sculler up on about 35, 36. But Tara is really just sitting there on her heels, isn't she? Coached by Ellen Randall. Ellen also coached the Australian women's double that picked up the silver medal, so doing a great job with our Australian small boats. We see a look there across from Emma Twigg, the Kiwi, the Olympic champion, to see what is going on at the front of the field. She's going to have to dig in here if she wants to get herself onto terms with these two leading scullers, but it is still Caroline Florine, the world champion for the last 2 years, narrowly ahead of Tara Rigney, 0.39 of a second. Can Tara do what she hasn't managed to do internationally yet, which no one has managed to do for the last 2 years, and upset the Dutch woman?
Well, let's see. You can see that leg drive now that I'm talking about. The blades go in, and then the work really comes on, I think, from Caroline Florine. But they're more or less stroke for stroke in terms of rate. But as you've said, Tara Rigney is much shorter, much smaller athlete actually than Caroline Florine. So she has to be kind of a little bit more punchy with her stroke, which is the way it looks. So as you said, what's the difference between a single and a crew boat? You do what's right for you. You scull the way you need to for yourself. You don't need to fit in with anyone else, of course.
And we've seen great rivalries unfold in the single scull, Greg, over the years. And the rivalry between these three seems to be establishing itself. This will be the third year it's more or less been the same three athletes on the podium. We can see Emma Twigg still, it's a bit of a deceptive angle back to the front. She is about 10 metres or so, which is just over a boat length behind Tara Rigney at this stage. But still, like I've said time and time again, and never write Twiggy off. She does have a mean sprint as much as most of the Kiwis do. I'm sure that her wife and her son are watching from back home in New Zealand. So for those of you joining us from Australia and New Zealand, it's very late at night for you. But hopefully you're enjoying watching the Aussie and the Kiwi scullers get themselves in here. But they are throwing everything at the Dutch woman, who is still in the lead.
Well, Caroline Florine there, she looks so long in terms of how she sculls, really compressing her body and closing that angle between her body and her thighs. But what you'll see is that Tara Rigney is still right with her. We should also give a quick shout out for the neutral athlete Tatiana Klimovic over there in lane one. She could yet make her way onto the podium against any of these athletes, really, if someone has a moment of weakness, if someone isn't able to keep going. At the bottom of the screen, there's also Alexandra Forster, the German sculler, but I think it looks like too much for her to do. It's all about these two for the gold medal, I think.
Perhaps a challenge starting to come now from the neutral athlete over in lane one, Klimovic. Twiggy's going to have to keep an eye out to her right to make sure that she doesn't get past here, because that sculler is starting to close the gap to Emma Twigg of New Zealand. But Emma's not really able to change this gap back to Tara Rigney. But I think at the front of the field, it looks to me as though the Dutch sculler has stepped up. She has taken a little bit of distance on Tara Rigney at this stage.
Well, here we go. We're into the red, boys. Tara Rigney is going to look to make some kind of a sprint happen. She's only at 37 strokes a minute. It's the same as Caroline Florine here. Still sculling absolutely full length. No shortening up at the stroke. The coaches would feel proud of what they're doing. But can they use some rate? Can they get more strokes in? I think Florine is moving now. I think she's waited until these red boys. Now she's starting to move. Now she's starting to open that gap on Tara Rigney, who's looking solid for the silver medal as we're coming down now towards the line.
They're coming down to us at the grandstand here. It is still the Dutch single sculler with the narrowest of leads. We can see the desperation from the Aussie, from the Kiwi. In fact, I think Emma Twigg is really putting on a burst here to try and reel in Tara Rigney. But it is going to be the world champion, Caroline Florine of the Netherlands, who will take the gold medal. Tara Rigney of Australia takes the silver. Emma Twigg of New Zealand picks up the bronze. And then a little bit of clear water back to the individual neutral athlete, Tatiana Klimovic, in fourth place. It will be Senkute from Lithuania who takes fifth, I think, and then the German Alexandra Forster in